Welcome back to An Athlete's Journey. I'm your host, Travis Shree, and I have a special guest for y'all. I know I've been hearing it from everybody. Bring on another girl. Bring on another girl. So why not bring the wife of Brian Johnson, a.k.a. Little Fella, is Queen Bee, Miss Cyrstal Johnson, who's been my friend since like 1998, you know.
Sir.
Yeah, it's just been a while, you know. So we went to college together at Long Beach State, graduated the same year, you know. So we basically a big family, you know. So want to introduce yourself? Go ahead, Cyrstal.
Hello, everybody. My name is Cyrstal Johnson. Like Travis said, we've been rocking since what?
98?
High school, graduated.
Yeah, that's it. 98, 99, something like that.
I actually met him when he was at UCLA, and then he, wanted to join me in Long Beach State.
True that. I heard Cyrstal State. I was like, gotta go there.
Joined the 49er club. And yeah, we was rocking ever since. So.
Right. Well, we're gonna just get right into it, Cyrstal. You know, we'll start how did your basketball journey start?
Well, I actually started basketball very late. I ran track first, and I played in 8th grade, middle school, but it wasn't really anything. I didn't really start till 9th grade, high school. Mm-hmm. I went to Long Beach Wilson, Bruins. I went there, and that's where my basketball journey began.
All right, that's cool. When you started, you said you ran track. Was that your best other sport besides basketball?
Yeah, I would say so, just because I started it first. I did a track club called Carson Unicorns in middle school. Mm-hmm. And then, transitioned into basketball, and I just kind of fell in love with it. I was not good, I should say. I was just an athlete, really. I remember our first summer league game. My coach at Wilson was Margaret Moore. She played for Long Beach State also, actually, when they went to the Final Four. So she was a part of that crew. They played in the gold mine, historic team, historic games. And so our first summer league game, she told me to run the point and bring the ball. And I'm like, run the point? What's that? She's like, you dribble the ball up. And I'm like, I don't want to have nothing to do with that. I just wanted to run, jump, and grab rebounds. That's all I wanted to do. I was like, no, ma'am. So I remember that vividly. That was my first experience.
All right. Well, I got you. So you went to Long Beach Wilson, a school that's rich in tradition of basketball greats. What was your most memorable moment in high school?
Wow. Well, so when I started, she came in to rebuild the program. And we had 7 freshmen on varsity. So you can imagine we were getting ran. Like Polly was running us through the mud. I remember we played Dominguez and they pressed us. I think they beat us like by 40. And I was like, what is going on? But 2 years later, we were beating those teams and we got our first conference championship my junior year. And my most memorable moment was junior year. I think we were in the 3rd round of the playoffs. We went into triple overtime to go to CIF. And so that was memorable.
No, yeah. I imagine,
Because we were getting blown out.
Oh, and you came back and won?
I'm saying, like, from when I started freshman year to junior year, it was a whole 360.
I hear you. I mean, that's usually how it goes. You take your lumps as early, and then you grow as a team and grow. I mean, I went backwards. My freshman year, we won city, state, all that, Crenshaw. Mm-hmm. And then sophomore year, made the playoffs. Junior year, made the playoffs. And senior year, we went to CIF. But, it went good.
Yeah. Well, at least you got back on top.
Right. So were you one of the recruited as one of the top players in the Southern California? Were you what schools were after you when you was in high school?
Yeah. So a funny story is my freshman year, the first week of practice, my coach actually told my parents I would get a D1 scholarship. Mind you, is the person who didn't know what run the point was. And she looked at my parents in the eye and said, Crystal's going to get a D1 scholarship. And they laughed like, yeah, okay, yeah, right. But by my junior year, I was getting recruited by Long Beach State, Nebraska, Fresno, Arizona, USC. Man, I was getting recruited by a lot of schools. I don't even remember all of them, actually. But yeah, I was getting recruited by D1 schools.
Okay. So what made you choose Long Beach State?
You know, it was a combination of a lot of things. You know, I'm the only girl. I have 4 older brothers. So my dad and my parents was like, you're not going nowhere. You know, you're not leaving. There's enough schools over here on this side where you can be close to home. And so and then also I had a good camaraderie with the girls. You know, back then we used to go play pickup.
Okay.
And we would go to Long Beach State a lot and play pickup. And I just, you know, got a friendship with the girls on the team and kind of bonded with them early, even before I went there.
You know, that actually makes a lot of sense, you know, because you go up there, you from Long Beach, you know, that's how colleges, I feel like that's how you get the good homegrown players.
Right.
The girls from your area instead of all these fly-in transfers kind of thing, you know, get the people from your area to grow your program, you know.
Yeah, and when I was at Long Beach State, it was myself went to Wilson, Jackie Moore went to Poly, Retta Sula went to Long Beach Jordan. These are all Long Beach schools. Sherelle was from Pasadena. Keisha Wade was from Texas, but she was via Inglewood. So everybody was, you know, local.
Yeah. That's I've always felt like that's how you grow your program, like from the inside out. Now the outside can come in, but it's
right.
You know, inside out is like I always felt like that's a good thing, you know. All right, so you're in Long Beach State. What was the hardest thing about like your first year?
Let me think. The hardest transition, my first year, I think it was just the pace of it. Because my coach came from that atmosphere, I think she prepared us well with how long, because we used to have 3-hour practices in high school. So that wasn't a problem. It was just the pace on catching up, the terminology that they used, and you had to get it, because they were on to the next thing. You know, we had practice started, and in 2 weeks we had a preseason game. So you had to get plays, you had to get defensive concepts, you know, you had to get the culture right away. So I think the pace in learning was probably the biggest thing.
The biggest thing. All right, my situation was just learning how to navigate like school and ball, you know, together. I mean, granted, my first 2 years at UCLA, they have your life planned out. You know?
Yes.
Like from 7 a.m. to 7 p.m. or 8 p.m., your life is just, you know, that. And for me, it was the hardest thing was like just planning out, like, you know, how to navigate school, ball, life, you know. I remember that like it was yesterday.
You remember, well, you have Sandra too. We had a great academic counselor. Sandra, man, like you said, they had it all mapped out, depending on your major and the classes. They even told you when it was time for you to eat. So he did an amazing job, like laid it out for us. So I think that really helped with the transition.
Okay. Yeah, no, definitely. I would say with your like my transition, it was you know, like just like getting to graduation, actually making it, you know, and actually finishing. Like, yes, I'm done with school.
Yes.
I don't have to worry about there's no summer classes. I don't have, you know, 15 units to finish. None of that. I'm done. You know, I was done. So I don't have to worry about school no more if I don't want to. Now it's extra.
Right.
All right. So what was your greatest triumph in college?
I think my one of the greatest triumphs.
And you better not say meet and rhyme. You better not say that.
Well, that's two things. Basketball wise, I think as a team, we never quite knocked off Santa Barbara. We would always get to the conference finals and always lose to Santa Barbara, but we did make it to the NIT 1 year.
I remember.
We lost in the third round to Colorado State. that was tough, but that was a great run for us. Also that year we were number 4th in the nation in defense. We had a cold press, and then Rhonda was in the back waiting to throw anything that came in there. So
I remember that. That was a great year for both men and women.
Yeah, both years.
Men won the league. Women, went far. Had a good team. That was a sweet.
That was fun.
Yeah, it was my transfer year coming in, so I was hyped for y'all. I was like, yeah, let's get it.
Yep, and then like you said, out of school. I would say meeting my husband there and the life we've been able to grow together, and just learning. I think a lot of things now that I look back, I didn't understand being young, and I was just living. I was just going day to day and moving and not really taking it in and appreciating. And I think if I went back as a player, I would be such a different player because I understand, life a little more and what's going to happen on that next level. I didn't understand that. I'm just playing a game that I love to play, without, I don't think, all the guidance, but just doing something that I love to do.
I actually went up to, I took my son up to UCLA about a month ago or something, and I walked around the campus like, man, I didn't enjoy none of this when I was here.
None of it,
I went to the Long Beach State about like 3 years ago, did the same thing. Like, man, that
campus is totally different. They got some amazing. I'm like, man.
They got the blue asphalt track now. They ain't like
the
track. They
got that big old rec room. Like
I went to the dudes' locker room. They got like TVs, jacuzzi.
Yes.
That's when I was here.
They got a kitchenette.
I was like, man, this is crazy. This is crazy, So what would be the biggest lesson that you learned from college that you want to say the next generation of Cyrstal?
The biggest thing I would learn from college would be to be a better planner. I think if I would have really focused and was better planning and not procrastinating so much. Really, I was a big procrastinator. Sometimes still I'm working on that. But I think procrastination really kept me away from a lot of things. And sometimes my husband always say this, sometimes as a good player, you got to go against the grain a little bit. And what I mean by that is, yes, I think I was too coachable in the sense that I wanted to do everything my coach said in every way my coach said it. But sometimes you got to step out of that a little bit, because as long as you go hard in what you're doing and it works, it's going to work. Not saying be defiant, not saying, go against the team, but sometimes you got to challenge that a little bit. And I think I was a little too coachable in the sense that I just didn't challenge myself because I was so focused on doing what the coach said.
No, I understand that. I think a lot of us go through that. I felt I was the same way when I was at UCLA, where like I tried to do everything you wanted me to do, or I want you to do this, I want you to do that. And all of my head was all over the place.
Right.
Focusing on playing my game.
Right.
What got me to UCLA.
Exactly.
What got me there was me doing my game, but they try to conform you to what they want you to fit in. And sometimes I think that like us as athletes, both men and women, had to go through that same thing. I definitely agree.
And for me, I was a player who was a tweener. So I was coming from, at my height, I guarded and played against all the positions. Like I could guard a big, I could guard a guard. Skill-wise, I was coming from being a power forward to a small forward should have been transitioned into a 2-guard, but you have to win. So they want you where you are, but I didn't challenge myself enough to get to that position faster. Like I got better later in life because I just understood more. So I think, I would change that.
No, I got you. That actually makes a heck of a lot of sense, like for future generations, do what the coach tells you, but still play your game, because that's why they recruited you. You playing your game.
Exactly.
It makes sense. So you graduate from Long Beach State. What's the next transition for you?
So I was actually recruited by Northridge as well, and a coach by the name of Michael Abraham at the time, his wife, Sonia Abraham, she was an agent. And I was invited to a free agent camp because I didn't get drafted out of college. Mm-hmm. I was invited to a free agent camp in Portland, and I went out there and I performed and I did really well. But then I was still just trying to try out, and I came back home and the Sparks was having a tryout. I tried out for the Sparks, and Michael Cooper was the coach at that time, and he ran us like, I mean, I don't know. We ran so many 17s that weekend. I can't even imagine how much we ran. And so at the end of camp, he, told everybody good job. And he was like, some of you have already been picked up by a team, so we can't even offer you if we wanted to. Well, I was one of those players that Seattle had already picked me up, but I didn't know yet. So that was on a Sunday. I got the call on Wednesday, but by Monday morning, I couldn't put my foot on the ground.
Oh, wow.
I all of a sudden had bad, severe plantar fasciitis. Like I could not walk. So I went to the team doctor. I was in so much pain. He gave me a cortisone shot. That was on Monday. I was supposed to be off for like a whole week and a half. By Wednesday, I got the call from Seattle. Congratulations. We want to bring you up to training camp. I'm like, oh my gosh, what am I going to do? Tell them no? I had to go. So That was on Wednesday. Friday, I was in Seattle. Sunday, we started practice, took physicals, did everything. Started practice. I'm doing very well. 2 weeks into practice, one of the coach who saw me at the camp, he was assistant coach. He came over to me and they would call me Rookie, keep doing, doing what you're doing. You're doing a good job. Everybody's watching you, keep it up. Well, my coach, Lynn Dunn at the time, would challenge us and say, hey, for this, you guys I'm going to buy you guys lunch, or I'll pay for lunch if you win this race or if you win this competition. Well, this particular time I said, okay, I'm going to win. And we just had to do a sprint. It was like for a sprint or something. And I took off to sprint and it was a wrap. I ruptured my plantar fasciitis. Oh. And, that's where my injuries kind of like started. So they take me off the court. I go into the locker room. I'm crying. I'm like, oh my gosh, what am I going to do? Because I'm a free agent. Like I don't have a guaranteed contract. I'm trying to make the roster. Mm-hmm. And me and the trainer and I, we were very close. And she was like, Crystal, I got you. Just like, we're going to get you okay. We're going to get you right. So the head coach came in and she touched my foot where it ruptured. Travis almost flew off that table. I was in so much pain. She was like, oh yeah, she's done. I was like, oh my goodness. They rehabbed me. I played a couple of games preseason. Ron actually came to watch me in Seattle, play a couple preseason games, but I just wasn't the same after that. And then I got released at the end of training camp.
Oh, do you think it was because of the cortisone shot? Like you felt good at the time, but then like once it's kicking back in, that's why people have to get constant.
Yeah, it wasn't. I think with the cortisone, it didn't heal because I was supposed to stay off of it for a week and a half. I wasn't even off of it a full week before I started training. But I felt like at that time I couldn't say anything,
when you're a free agent, you're just trying to get signed first. Yeah. And then tell them that you hurt. You know what I'm saying? That's that life. That's that life, Yeah. When you turn professional, it's that business. You just be like, no, I'm not hurt. And you be coming in like, Man, hurting. And that was pretty much, a lot of after that, not a lot, and we can get to further, but after that Seattle experience, then that's when I went overseas. Oh, okay. So that Seattle experience was when, in May?
I was there the whole camp. So they released me on the last day, actually. So that was in, beginning of June.
Okay, so you still had time to go back to Europe and stuff like that.
Yeah, okay. I didn't go to Europe until end of August, beginning of September.
Yeah, but that's usually when it starts, like that time. So you had time to kind of rehab and get better. Yeah. How long did that take, the rehab of your injury?
The thing is with that, it's kind of like you had a surgery. So it's not really a rehab. It's pretty much just rest. But the way it ruptured was a blessing because it's better than having a surgery. Because they say when they go in and cut your foot, the healing process is different. It actually takes longer than if it ruptured on its own.
Okay. Yeah. All right. I never knew that. That's I never knew about the rupture, but I know about the cortisone shots. I've taken a couple of those in my time, overseas, because they'd be like, "We need you for the championship game." This, one of the years I was like, "I ain't doing it no more." I ain't doing it.
Man, as athletes, we do some crazy stuff just to play, just to
win. Like, I was like, I ain't doing it. I could have done it. I didn't. They didn't re-sign me, but it's all good. It was one of those things. So after you come back, you rehab. Where do you go overseas?
I go to Israel.
Okay.
Yeah. So my first job was in Ashdod in Israel, and that was an experience. We had 3 rookies, 3 American rookies. We all just graduated from college on the same team, so we were all coming into something new. The team that we played for just won Division II and got bumped up to Division I.
That's why they got 3 rookies. That's
why. And so your job is to keep that team in Division I. So we started off like 0-10.
Wow. Okay.
So we had 3 rookies. Our veteran Israeli player was probably 36. Then we had young Israeli players. So it was like, man, now the 3 rookies that we had were good. Like, we had a good point guard, a good floor man. I was a wing player. Like, we were athletic, young, but just didn't know the professional, game yet, especially the European game.
Yep.
And our coach was a young coach. So, man, this was a crazy season. So we started 0-10. And overseas, they sending you home. They're already looking for somebody else.
I know.
Man, I was really blessed though with that team. Like, I got all my money.
Okay.
And they said by the Christmas break, if we didn't win a game, they were going to send us home. Well, they didn't have enough money to bring anybody else, so they brought us all back.
Dang.
They didn't have any money, so they had to. Our contract was what it was. They was like, we can afford them, we can't afford nobody else. And so they brought us back. We lost the next game from the break and then went on a winning streak. Went on like a 12, 13 game winning streak. We figured it out. We made it to the playoffs, and it was a wrap. Our coach got Coach of the Year. It was crazy. Yeah.
That is crazy. It's funny how your year, first year, ironically, is how my first team was when I was in Holland.
Okay.
Yeah, me coming out of college, another dude named Pierre. He was like first year out, and then eventually we got Billy, got rest his soul.
Oh, right.
Billy. Yeah, like he was the first. We was all first year. Our oldest vet player was like 36.
Yeah, that's crazy.
All young dudes after that. We ended up finishing second in the league. Then we went to semifinals, but got blown out in the semifinals like 4-1.
Yeah.
But I was laughing at you because I was like, man, that's exactly how my team was.
Yeah, that was a great experience though for us. It went from being at the bottom to we ended up finishing, I think, second or third, and went to the playoffs and lost in the 3rd round of the playoffs. Yeah.
Not bad. You finished that your first year.
Yep.
Then you come home, and then what?
Come home after my first year. Well, in between there, I think this was a WNBA lockout year. I went back to Seattle to try out. Then they had another coach, and I think this was in between the lockout year. One of my teammates who was on the team, she picked me up in Portland, drove me to Seattle, had a tryout, and in the tryout, we're doing a drill, and I do a defensive slide, and I feel my groin pop or something, my quad or something, and my leg just goes dead a little bit. And I'm like, dang, what's going on? And so I continue, but again, I wasn't the same. Mind you, I haven't stopped playing. Ever from
Israel to back home. Yeah.
Trying out for the league to now going overseas to now going on a tryout. I haven't stopped, but I still wasn't listening to my body. I needed to make a team. I was gonna play in the WNBA. And so that happened, and I don't really remember what happened in the lockout year when it came back, but I didn't get picked up. So now I'm waiting to go back overseas. Now.
Oh, wow. That's crazy. That's straight up crazy. Like, especially like in a lockout year kind of situation where you might have a possibility of making it, but it's a lockout, so you got to go back.
Yep.
I had the same situation. I got injured my third year. My team, we left. Went out there in July. End of July, we was practicing August 1st, and we won the championship on June 6th. I came back home for like 2 weeks, and then Billy was like, Barron's putting the team together at Long Beach State.
Okay.
For the summer league, and I was like, all right, I'm playing it. I always wanted to play at Long Beach State in the summer league, summer pro.
Right.
Yeah, we used to go to the games all the time, watch. And so we played. We won the whole thing. Obviously, Barron's team won the whole thing. Played like 12 games. Okay. That's when I met the rapper The Game for the first time. He was like G-Unit dude then. And then
Yeah,
he was 50 Bloods with him at all times game. He was hood game then.
Right.
And we won it. And then after that, maybe a couple weeks later, maybe 2 weeks, I went back overseas and then played the whole season. Then that next year, that's when I had a stress fracture in my shin. Because my body wasn't resting. I was like balling. You know what I'm saying? So yeah, I understand. I understand. What was the difference between college and overseas? What do you think?
I think college was a little more structured in the sense where the coach kind of formed how you played in your game. I think as a professional, they saw you as a certain players, like you're here to do a job. And you got to do your job to get paid or you're going to go home. And your job is to help this team win. That's what your job is. So I think the job, the demand of it as a job, I think is a difference. In college, you can call it a job because it's like they're paying for your education, but it's the stress of it is a little different because, the management is having meetings, the coaches having meetings every day. Is like, am I going home?
No, that's real. People don't realize how the overseas life is, man. They can send you home. They can fight you in court for your money. You just forget it. I'm going home. Overseas life is like a whole nother level. If you ain't winning, if you ain't scoring, I've seen that with dudes winning, but dudes averaging 12 points, they send them home anyway. I'm like,
I was really blessed though. Like every team I played for, I never got sent home. I've always got all my money. The management was always respectful. I just did what I had to do. So I was really blessed in that sense.
Well, congratulations to Miss Cyrstal Johnson, because that ain't real life. That ain't real. You know what I'm saying? I mean, if I played the whole season, sometimes release. I've been everything. So, all right. So you obviously finished your years. How many years did you play overseas?
I played 5. I played 4 years in Israel and 1 year in Turkey.
Okay. So your last year overseas, 5th year. Explain to the audience what I was shocked by it. I was like, that's a crazy heck story.
So my husband and I we got married. We just actually celebrated 15 years.
Congratulations.
Thank you. And we got married. We were actually playing overseas together. And I had signed with the team in Tel Aviv, played the season, and they signed me early before I left to come back a second year. And then my husband at the time was in Israel, and he hadn't signed his contract yet, but he ended up signing to go play in Belgium. So we were going to be apart. And my team paid for me before I came to Israel to go visit him in Belgium before the season. So I go visit him, come back. 3 weeks later during practice, I'm just not feeling well. I'm like, man, why do I feel so slow? What's going on? My back hurting. I feel all out of whack. Man, I was pregnant. I end up, getting the test, went to the doctor. And I found out the first game of the season, which was a big public televised game. And I was so distraught, Travis. I didn't know what to do. I was by myself. I was crying. I was like, oh my gosh, I let my team down. What I'm gonna do? And then I called Ron, and he like, yes. He like coming from practice. He pull over celebrating. I'm like, what you mean no? Like, no. And he was like, you're not playing. You're not. And I'm like, I was only 3 weeks pregnant, by the way.
Oh, okay.
And he was like, no, you're not gonna get hurt. You're not playing. And I'm like, but what? I got my team. So I call my management. I tell them what's going on. I'm crying. I'm hysterical. And they're telling me, calm down. Like, you didn't do anything wrong. You're married. Like, it's okay. And I'm like, no, but, blah, 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 blah. So they're on the phone with Ron trying to convince him, like, she's okay. She can play. We'll make sure she's fine, So he finally agreed, like, at the 10th hour. Mind you, now we're at the game. Everybody's warming up. I have camera crews in my face asking me, like, what's going on? Why you're not playing? My eyes are puffy from crying. Finally, I played horrible. I was exhausted. I just played so bad. And we played one of the top teams in the league that night. So we lost that game. And then it was out. I felt better. They ended up getting another player. And I had one more game to play before the other player came. I played that game, killed, got MVP of the game, and left on that note. So I ended up going back to Belgium where he was.
Okay, and you should stay with him the whole year?
I stayed with him for 6 months, and then I came home to have the baby.
Oh, so you almost that kid almost was Belgian.
No, he almost had citizenship.
That's cool. That's cool. And what happened after you had the baby?
So after I had the baby, a team reached out. My son was about 3 months old or so, and they wanted me to come back and play, but they gave me an ultimatum, basically. Well, not an ultimatum, but was like, well, we want you to come, but, you can bring your baby in a month after you get here. And I'm like, but he's a newborn. I'm nursing. What do you mean bring him in a month? Why he can't come with me? Well, not right away. And I was like, okay, well, then I can't go. I retired. I was like, it's a wrap. If I can't bring my child, like I just had a brand new baby, and then you want me to leave him? Who's going to bring my baby all the way across the country?
Yeah.
My husband was already gone playing somewhere,
Right.
So that's how my career ended.
That's a heck of a sacrifice. Look, I get it. I understand it. But that's, wow. You know what I'm saying? So I was like, I wanted people to know about like the sacrifices that, you actually made. That, like a lot of people don't realize. And like I said, I'm just proud of you as a mom. I mean, you being a mom, doing that for your kid. Because I would tell you something like, yeah, your mama was bad back in the day. She had game. She was athletic. She was Draymond Green, the woman's version of Draymond Green. You know what I'm saying? I was like, she's one of the few girls that actually think could take her man almost.
Right. Unless he found me. Look,
yes, he start being physical. He might just be physical because that's how he plays. But you know what I'm saying? Like that 2-on-2 game.
With you and Sherelle?
Yeah. Me and him took it real serious. I was like, what? Oh, I thought we were just joking.
Right. We just playing around, and y'all, this is a 2-on-2 tournament.
we go for blood. They were like, let's just go. Shot. I remember Ron was like, come on, hit the shot. You like, oh man, this dude tripping.
Right. That was fun.
I still remember that to this day. Okay, so you did your 5 years. Based on your experience of overseas life, what would be like the advice for like the next generation?
The stigma of overseas was that, if I don't make it, I just go overseas and play. Like it's just easy to do. And it's not just easy to do. Like, as you see more European players coming over here, both men and women, like they serious about their game and basketball over there. I just think any player, you gotta know your craft and you gotta perfect your craft. I think overseas the game is different. It's a little slower. It's more, you got to think the game a little better. I haven't been overseas in 15 years or so. But But no, even longer than that. My son now is, when he's 13. Yeah, 13. No, 13 years. I haven't been overseas in 13 years. And I have to count a little bit. But I know the game has changed a lot. Lot. I'm telling you, these girls and these kids now, they nice. Like, they hooping. And you really got to perfect your craft, and you got to go there. You got to be professional. You know what I mean? Know your contracts. Know the expectation of what the club expects from you.
Yes.
And be prepared. Don't go overseas not prepared. Do not go overseas out of shape.
No.
Don't go overseas. Yeah, they'll cut you. Don't go over there not prepared. Go ready to work.
No, that makes a heck of a lot of sense. That goes for us as well. It's the same thing. Like you said, the game is much more physical European game than it is in NBA. NBA is a little wide open. That's why you see so many dunks.
Yes.
That overseas is not. I mean, don't get me wrong. There's still dunks, but it ain't like that. You might see maybe 3, 4, not like 15 or 20.
Right.
So it's a way, like you said, slow down, more physical. Think the game, a lot of plays. 85-80 type. Not like 120-100 type.
Right. And when you go overseas, if that's your first personal experience, like, you're going to play grown men and women.
Yeah.
You're not going to play you're going to play against some grown men and women who've been doing this too since they were 15. And now they're in their late 20s, 30s. They've been doing it for a long time.
All right. So after did you ever think about coming back? Like maybe possibly the next year after, you said I'm retired. Did you think, maybe the next year, maybe I could come back? Or you just like, I'm gonna hang it up, or period. That's it.
I did think about coming back. I actually would play in Drew locally. Played in a couple of semi-pro. Our team would go to Vegas and play in those teams. So I was still playing. And then I got into, I already had my real estate license, but I started getting into it a little more actively. Once the jobs didn't really come, that was, like I said, more open to me bringing my son, I just transitioned out of it. As long as I was able to still play, which I did have other avenues to still play, I was fine.
I got you. So let's transition into that. Pretty much the next transition for you, obviously, you said was real estate, things like that, starting a business. How was your plan going a bit? Like I would say, the biggest thing for former athletes is the transition.
Right.
Figuring out, okay, my life was this for so many years, and trying to figure out what the heck I'm gonna do after that. I know you was dedicated as any dude I ever met, as far as ball and working out and all that kind of stuff. So I always wanted to know, how did you make your transition?
I had a great support system. I don't know if you remember Nita. Remember my best friend Anita?
Yeah. I remember. I've seen her, but I remember.
Yeah, so her family owned their own brokerage company. And even when I was in college and playing, they would always tell me, you got to get your real estate license. You're going to get your real estate license. I don't care what you do, you're going to get it. So in between coming home, I would take a test, or I make sure I get my certificate. Then I passed the test. So once I transitioned, I had that to fall back on. And then my brother's friend, he had his broker's license, and I started off as his assistant in learning the business. And then my first sale, my cousin had a property that he wanted me to sell. And that's how I got my first sale. Okay. And I just transitioned to it in there. So I really was actually blessed in a sense where I had a support system that was around me, because like you said, I went from working out 3 days a week, 3 times a day. That was my life. Get up, work out, eat. Lunchtime, work out, eat. Nighttime, work out, eat. That was it. I was sand dunes to the weight room to the gym. That's what it was, because that was my job. And then I went from there into transitioning to be a business owner. I didn't know. So I had a support system that kind of helped me with that.
That's an amazing story. Like I said, the journey, I was just like, man, I got to get Cyrstal, because the journey is crazy, and the fact that you made the ultimate sacrifice for your son. like I would say, dudes, like, I mean, we're lucky we don't have to make those choices. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
We can just keep balling. Like, you stop and gave Ron a chance to keep balling.
Yep.
You know?
Yep, I stopped.
Yeah, because to be honest, I couldn't stop. I wouldn't. I'd be like, yeah, all right, you gonna stay with grandma?
Right.
Until I'm gonna come back and get you. Grandma, here's a month of pumps.
Well, that's why we're the moms. You know, we got that maternal instinct, and when that baby comes out of you, it's just something changes. That's your baby. You know, protect them. Not saying that they wouldn't be protected, but that's your child. You know,
no, of course. So. No, definitely. So let's transition to your like you said, to your business now. Go ahead and pump it. You know, like what do you do? You know, what you're doing, everything. Go ahead. Mentally
Fit. So my husband and I, he's the brains behind it in a sense where, you know, he's always worked with children. He worked with a lot of at-risk youth before we started the program. And he was training kids who played for other teams, and he started just training because he really likes to teach people to say the right way. And our oldest, he had just got into playing sports. He was like 5 or 6. And so we were in my parents' living room and we started writing ideas down on a napkin. And that's kind of where Mentally Fit came alive. And he was training. A lot of the parents were like, man, when are you going to get a team? And he's like, no, I'm not a coach. I just want to train, develop them. And we started to go around and see kids playing. We're like, man, there's a lot of bad basketball out here. Like, what are they teaching these kids? They're teaching them how to play basketball. And once my son reached 7 years old, it was time for them to transition into travel ball. And it was like, there's no way we can't let anyone else coach them because it'd be a problem. They start teaching them some crazy stuff. So we transitioned into our first travel team, which was their age. And they're actually now 14U, about to go to high school, that class. So this is an exciting year for us because it'll be the first class that we have from 2nd grade to now 8th grade.
Wow. That is a long transition too, to feel like you coached them all the way. Like you be probably yelling at the high school coach, like, he likes to go left.
Yes.
Not making him go right.
Yes.
You know, stop teaching them the stupid stuff. You know, and then you're like, well, Travis, we had to coach high school, you know.
Man, you never know. Now, I don't know, but it's been a fun journey, Travis. Like, really, to be able to do it with Ron and our kids, and now our little ones are in the program. Pre-COVID, we had 11 teams, and it was going. Like, we had some great coaches. And just to really see the kids get better, you know, we're all about the underdog. Like Ron, if he can have the underdog and build them up, then the kid who just hopping from team to team, we want the underdog. You know, we want them to work and go out and show what they can do. So it's been fun. It's been a fun journey. We've been all over the country playing, been very competitive on every level. So it's been a real fun.
No, definitely. It's been a blessing. I always say, like, nowadays, AAU ball is so different, you know, like than when we grew up.
We came up, right?
Yeah, no, like I was talking to my boy, you know, obviously, you know, Bean. And I told him it was so many people in California that they had to separate us, you know.
Yes.
We couldn't, you know, like it was me and the twins on ARC, and Baron on K-Swiss, you know, Kenny Bruner on Slam and Jam. We was all separated, you know.
Right.
Where nowadays everybody just gangs up and plays on one team, all the best dudes. I'd be like, ain't no, what's fun in that?
That's the super teams.
Yeah, I just be like,
started that.
You know, I mean, I like it when a Lakers fan get a super team, but like, hey, you separate.
Also, too, when we played you had to be invited. It wasn't like a gold, silver, and bronze level in travel ball. It was one team. Like, you didn't hear that. You know, you had to come and you had to play against the top players. That it's not the same anymore. It's like everybody can play.
I agree with you. I definitely agree with you, Crystal. Like I said. Well, thank you very much, Crystal. I appreciate your time.
Thank you for having me.
It's my pleasure. Like I said, I've been wanting to get you on here for a minute. I'm glad you finally stopped Hollywooding me. And
No.
Well, thank you very much. We'll see you next time on Travis Reed and Athlete's Journey. Thank you, Crystal Johnson. I appreciate it. I always be like Crystal Givens. Oh, Crystal Johnson now, right? Yeah. I've been knowing that she was Crystal Givens, not Crystal Johnson for a minute. All right. Thank you, Crystal. We appreciate it. Thank you, everybody. Peace.
All right, guys. Bye-bye.